Railroad Preserver 2000 here, back again doing another video here. This video is a disclaimer for a 15-minute audio recording I did pertaining to my opinions, beliefs, and overall advice and recommendations concerning Stormworks and the current debacle that it has been plagued with since about October 10th or so. Yes, I know everything has been fixed so far, and there's still a lot of things that need fixing. But I needed to get my piece out at that particular moment. So to the developers, if you guys see this video, I want you to understand that if you can look past my frustrations and whatnot, there's a lot of advice and a lot of recommendations I try to give and list. And a lot of pros and cons regarding them. Have I changed my mind on them? Unfortunately, no. Those opinions remain firm. But I do want to say this. The morons who sent you guys like death threats and all that mess, I want you to know that not everybody in the community is like that. Those who were quickly banned from whatever servers they were in and rightfully reported. Am I frustrated and even a little bit annoyed and admittedly angered by some of the decisions that have been made? Unfortunately, yes. But am I that unhinged to send that type of threat to y'all? No. I believe in discussing matters like this face-to-face, civilly. And I want you to know there's a lot of other community members who are about as level-headed as me and who would like to do the same thing, which is just come together and just openly talk about all this. A lot of them have the same advice and whatnot that I'm trying to give. The key is simply listening. Plain and simple. So, with this out of the way, I hope you guys take the time to listen to this entire recording, start to finish. No skipping. And please feel free to comment and whatnot in the video only after it has been fully watched and listened to. Okay? I don't want anyone trying to make assumptions without even bothering to look at the material. Understand this is about a 15-minute recording, so I just want you guys to take the time to listen to it beginning to end in full and then give your opinions on it. And as I've just said, if all of you can look past my frustrations and tone that was present at the time, you'll find I listed off a lot of advice and recommendations that I really hope the game's developers will at least take into consideration or consider. Other than that, this is where this disclaimer ends and where the recording will start. In 2018, when my friends and I first found out about Stormworks, we were very optimistic about it due to being maritime enthusiasts. Fast forward to the release of 1.0, however, and we and the other players in the game who were keen-eyed and had experience with both ships, game development, and whatnot, quickly realized that our expectations were short-sighted. Yet, despite the errors the game had at the time, we still gave it a chance. Now, fast forward to now, October of 2023, we have now seen the devs' true colors and how they really feel about the game, as well as their community as a whole. We've seen players being shadow banned on Discord and other platforms, their opinions and support ideas in terms of the game's development being deleted or silenced by the developers themselves. We've even seen evidence of the developer who made the game pointing out that they never cared for it and only care about the money it's bringing them in. To those of you who still play this game, I say boycott it and shut it down. Cut their funding dry and make them bleed financially. We've tried as a community to get them to listen. We've tried to offer our support, our advice, our expertise, and they refuse to listen or acknowledge it. To fellow ship enthusiasts, you have my condolences for the hours of work you put in, bringing real-life ships back from the grave. To the people who were trying to get the devs to listen, I applaud you for trying. Sadly, the advice you were giving them fell on deaf ears. To those who offered advice to these devs and were banned, Well, all I can say is spread the word about their incompetence and tell people to not give them any form of financial support. Because if they're willing to make this game as shoddy as it is, what's to stop them from doing the same to another game? Regarding the support and advice, I've seen numerous players and other game developers trying to give to these incompetent developers, mainly the lead one. I've seen a lot of people trying to give advice to him or them regarding how to optimize the game or how to implement more maritime/nautical themes to it. All of their advice and whatnot was not only ignored, but silenced and even removed by the developers, both on Discord and everywhere else they tried to post it. If that doesn't show incompetence and outright arrogance, I don't know what else will. So to the developers, I'm making this clear. When people offer advice on how your game can be greatly improved, I would seriously advise listening to it, because that should tell you a whole hell of a lot in terms of where you stand. Normal people would try to use that information to improve what they have, but all of you have just used it as a means to just ignore it, basically, to get away with making, frankly, half-reared updates that do practically nothing to improve the game in terms of playability, interaction, and overall optimization. You get updates out to get people's hopes up, to trick them into buying useless DLCs that overall don't improve the game but rather hamper it with equal numbers of bugs and issues that, like everything else, have yet to be corrected or rectified. And going into the bugs, there are bugs from as far back as 2018 and maybe earlier that have yet to be rectified or removed. That's red flag number 1. Red flag number 2 goes back to the advice being silenced. When you openly and willingly delete advice that players and game testers have given you, telling you your game needs to be improved, that's red flag number 2, because it just shows arrogance and incompetence at the highest level of game development. All I can say, though, is all he's really doing is slaughtering his golden goose before it can even lay another golden egg. To those of you who have heard such a metaphor, you know what it means. But to the developers, I tell you, listen to people's advice. When they bring you advice on how to improve the game, don't silence it or delete it, but rather use it to your advantage to make the game more compatible, more operational, more optimized, and more playable. To those who play the game, keep sending advice in, regardless of what the Stormworks developers think. If they ban you from Discord, send it elsewhere. If they keep trying to silence you, then get the word out and let the world know of these developers' true colors, mainly the main one. Because in all honesty, the main one has made it clear that they don't give a damn about this game. They don't give a damn about it at all. They don't give a damn about its creators, its players, those who helped test it, etc. They only care about one thing, and that's the money. They only care about the wealth. Their greed is going to be their downfall. That downfall is now. And we as the community need to bring that downfall to the forefront of their life and mind. I'm not promoting physical violence, nor do I wish any physical violence on the developer. Financial violence, however, is more than approved. Now, what is financial violence? Financial violence is by cutting off the funding of the opposing party so that they will thereby be no longer able to support or fund whatever idea or venture they intend to do. In this case, we need to make the developer unable to fund any other games by boycotting Stormworks entirely. We need to boycott it enough to where it will lose whatever financial hold it has, to the point where the developer can and will go bankrupt. Only when they're losing money, bleeding it even, will they begin to listen to us as a community. In terms of how this game can be improved, firstly, all the DLCs in development or in existence need to be retracted and run through a rigorous testing program, one that finds every bug, every error, every glitch. Then, once all said errors are found, they need to be removed, corrected, and then retested to make sure they do not reappear in any form. Secondly, optimization needs to be prioritized. Any and all components in the game must be optimized to the point where no lag should be present regardless of creation size. Secondly is player capability. Those who have low-end devices can sometimes not play these games. So my advice would be to have settings that cater to said devices. Have it so the player can set the game settings to cater to whatever computer they have, whether it be a 10-year-old laptop or the most up-to-date gaming computer in existence. Next is overall operation. If the game cannot handle multiple people and creations, that needs to be tested over and over again and improved with each test until a proper and playable version can be made, instead of being just released outright without any form of testing whatsoever. Next is on the aircraft section. If you don't know what you're modeling, contact aviation enthusiasts or any vehicle enthusiast in general regarding maritime vehicles, aviation vehicles, and land vehicles, whether it be planes, trains, cars, trucks, etc. And more or less have them as technical advisors so what you model is modeled correctly and works correctly. Have it so that they will let you know what needs to be changed and what can be improved. It's not hard to ask for help. It's harder to deny it and keep trying to go and do what you're doing, despite knowing what you're doing is failing because of not asking for help. That's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing developers who are not only incompetent, but unwilling to ask or accept help or advice from a community that has come to more or less know the game better than the very people who made it. Not just from a model standpoint, but from a technical standpoint as well, right down to the very coding needed to make the game run. Which should say a lot. It should say a lot to not only these developers, but to more experienced developers who are probably watching this debacle very closely. The reason they're watching it is because it's an example of what not to do. You don't release things without proper testing. You don't release a game until it's properly tested and properly bug fixed. You don't release updates or DLCs without testing them or having people test them to give feedback on what needs to be fixed. You don't release a game that has optimization issues that causes the game to crash every 2 minutes, even with the smallest creation spawned in. Normal games go through months of rigorous testing to weed out any and all errors, to make the game playable, and to make it so it won't crash regardless of what's going on or regardless of what device it's on. The key is asking for help and taking the advice that people give and implementing it in the best way possible to give the best outcome for everybody involved. So to the developers, I say to you this: are you going to continue your arrogant silence and arrogant disregard in terms of people giving you advice on how to improve your game, your main moneymaker, or are you going to actually be the better men and actually ask for help from those who know the subject best, not only in terms of the game and game design and development, but those who have experience and expertise regarding the vehicles people build in this game. Ship enthusiasts, aviation enthusiasts, auto enthusiasts, rail enthusiasts. All of them have advice and experience they are more than willing to share with you if you give them the chance to just tell you. And I guarantee you, if they tell you and you listen and implement their advice, you'll find your golden goose giving you more than just one golden egg. And I'm sure you'll find it giving you solid gold rather than partial gold. But the key to getting there is to listening to all of us. Instead of ignoring us, listen to what we have to say. Listen to the advice we give. Don't silence or delete it. Read it. Plain and simple. To those who play the game and have experience in the aforementioned fields, don't simply stop giving advice to the developers. Give advice. Give reference material. Show them what you know and what you can do. Show them that you are more than capable of making sure all of these aspects are accurate. Show them that, we as a community can and will provide assistance if needed. The key is letting us help, plain and simple. Because at the end of the day, if the developers keep doing what they're doing, they're going to lose money and they're going to go under and go under faster than a ship sinking in the game. But if they listen to us as a player base and as a community, those of us who actually have some sense and experience and implement that experience into the game development, then they may end up making not only more money than they're already making, but actually having positive feedback that will only give them more profit. As I've always said, the companies that do the wrong thing or the illegal thing always end up making less money, and sometimes even go under. However, companies that have done the right thing and follow all the guidelines and experience ultimately end up making more money in the long run. Does it take a little longer? Yes. Is there a lot more red tape? Yes. But does it ultimately work out for all involved with the one company making more money by doing the right thing? Oh, yes. There's been plenty of companies that have found that they'll get more money by doing the right thing, and the same goes with game developers. Those that ignored advice went under. But those who accepted advice, help, and experience ended up handling very well and made off very well too financially. The same can happen here. The key is for the lead developer to get their head out their ass and actually ask for help. Because in the end of the day, it's more honorable and more respectful to ask for help than to deny it. Plain and simple.